Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar, you're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression, because I am very high.
Ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash.
Yeah. Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Oh boy, we're gonna watch Timcast live. We should get Adam Nutter. I've invited him to come on, so we'll do this. We're just gonna do this on a. Let's see our boys on there. Let's see if we got.
But James won't let me pay myself. We got to get rid of James. These are the kind of thing that happens when these are the kind of things that happen at big companies after a long period of time. They want to get rid of the person in charge who's motivated by a mission. There's a saying that a buddy of mine was an entrepreneur, said some people are good at starting companies and some people are good at running companies. Some people are founders, some people are CEOs. Somebody founds a company and then they hand it off to the CEO. The CEOs are very different from the founders. So my view of this is just my personal opinion and my bias. Because like I mean, this sandwich thing really is there. And then there's also something else I want to show you. If I would, let me first ask you guys this. When you think of Project Veritas, who do you think of?
James O'Keefe.
Hands down.
Yeah.
James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. That's not what they think. Here's an image. Look at this. There is honestly no Project Veritas without us. Look, partially true. This is our moment to make history. I hope James can realize we're doing this out of love for the mission.
Yeah, that's all created in their own head. When they start saying that they're doing things out of love that are bad for a person, that's rationalizing doing something they know is immoral and bad. So I think that Tim's right on. I think they're motivated by it.
It could be tough love. No. Ousting him like this abruptly? Yeah, I don't know. I worked for several nonprofits, all right?
Not in this context.
And here's what happens. Because these organizations don't function like the same kind of companies. People who work here work for a mission. They're not. Part of the reason you get paid less when you work at a nonprofit is because you're doing something you want to do for a mission. And so at every single nonprofit office I worked, these are all events, fundraising, street canvassing, etc. They had a policy, all of them, to fire every single person in the office the moment a person starts expressing demoralization. I mean, like morale. And so the fear was, if somebody starts getting upset and feeling aggravated or aggrieved, they'll go to a person in another room and go, what's going on, man? And they're like, nothing, what are you doing? I'm so sick of this, man. Like, James was talking to me and I'm tired of it, man. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? James is the other, you have, yeah, sometimes. And then what happens is the negativity and the demoralization starts spreading from person to person, where they get angrier and angrier. Then they all start going to each other. This has happened at every office I've worked. My argument's always been, you need to have a company-wide meeting. You need to have a pizza party. You need to make people feel good. You can't just fire everybody, but this is what they do. They churn and burn. They just burn through people. I'm wondering if a component of this is somebody who wants James O'Keefe ousted from the organization, wants control of the assets and resources, is going around telling people like, yeah, like that time he yelled at you, remember? And they're like, oh, yeah. And they took that woman's sandwich. Yeah, he did do that. And then a week later, they're like, remember when you told me that he yelled at you and took that woman's sandwich? Yeah, we wrote that down, signed the paper, and they go, oh, okay.
The thing is, once you make accusations against people too, regardless of what the truth is and regardless of how easy it is to disprove it, they'll run with that narrative. So in New Hampshire, for example, there was this senator race going on. There was Don Baldock against Maggie Hassan. And Joa from Breaking the Flaw, who's a co-host on Free Talk Live with me, he was at this protest and he was definitely, being annoying and getting in people's faces, but he never touched anybody, never laid a hand on anyone. And Don Baldock basically just lied and said that he attacked him and hit him. And, there was video footage of everything that was going on, and we released it from the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, showing that they never touch each other at all or anything. But it just ran with it, and then the Democrats were picking it up too, even though they could use this as an attack against Baldock. They knew that it it would have been very easy to say, like, look, this guy isn't telling the truth. But just because a narrative was put out there, it's impossible to disprove it, even if you have all the video footage and everything. So,
well, that's because there is a motivated block of people a block of people that are motivated to believe it, or at least to spread it, even if they don't actually believe it.
Pile-on culture.
Yeah,
which is like it's a tough justification to not utilize false accusations against your enemy. Because it's like they're your enemy and you need to win. If it's the combat state of mind conflict, anything to get the job done in those situations. But when like the culture, when you're having communication, it's like, I mean, I know that desire. Like, I want this so bad that I'm willing to accept falsehoods to get it. It's just not the right ethics.
I think that's sloppy tactics, though. I think that the move, if you're smart, you sit back, you evaluate the battlefield, you wait, you find something accurate, something that will literally pierce the enemy's heart, if you will, and that's what you go for. Like, I mean, obviously, maybe you can make disinformation work for you sometimes, but I think in the long run, it's a failing strategy. But
sometimes it's just a really long run. Yeah. You wish it would go faster.
I'm not so confident that it actually is a failing strategy. I mean, all's fair in love and war is a phrase for a reason. Underhanded tactics frequently work, even if they're underhanded. And I think that you see that in modern politics pretty clearly. I mean, it's not rare for a politician to lie about their opponent or to exaggerate or to pick up a Republican that attacks a Republican. It's not unusual for a Democrat to pick up the attack if the person is leading, So I really do think that the all's fair in love and war thing is predominant in at least this particular issue.
But how do people feel about the government right now? How do they feel about Congress? I mean, that's my it might be, it's a kind of how much your time preference, how long are you willing to look out in the future? So here we are now, we're like the Congress is it's like lowest level ever.
But everyone hates Congress for different reasons. Yes. You ask most people and they are happy with their own Congress people. The people they don't like are the Congress people that get in the way of the policies that their congressperson is looking to push forward.
After last night, we did a show at Congress in Lauren Boebert's office. I gained a new love for those people and that building. And
can you hear me okay?
The Congress itself, it felt very inviting. Like it a lot of people really.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
You sound really faint though.
I sound hard not to make a January 6th joke, Phil.
It was shocking how at home I felt.
Especially compared to this show. Let me see if I can fix it on my end.
Of what we talk about on the show, kind of like all of them are at this. I think. Then I guess there's a lot of probably older Congress people that aren't fired up, and those people are just like, playing the bill to get by.
A little better.
I'm not as interested in that mentality.
This better? This better?
Yeah.
This better? Testing.
And
I removed the automatic.
So my Congress approval rating.
Are they loud enough for you?
Yeah.
Wow. But I will point out, we're not at war. This is not a war. Yeah. So if people are using false accusations to get James ousted, it's not war, and all is not fair in legal battles.
For the fact
so
that,
if they're doing something underhanded, I think that's going to.
They're going down the Project Veritas path.
Yeah, I figured.
So we have this video here, and it's from Project Veritas. And I don't know who this guy is.
I need you louder.
It says, busted. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla relies on aggressive security tactics to escape Veritas journalists' questions. Do you know who this guy is? I'm not trying to be a dick to him. I don't know who he is.
What's his name, Albert?
This guy right here, this journalist they have. So people started telling me.
No, I was downstairs.
They removed James O'Keefe.
Okay, so
stripped him of his authority.
Adam has a
put him on paid leave. Have explained almost nothing. We had to get leaked.
I worked really hard for this 2-story house.
What people were claiming, which sounds outlandish, and we've not gotten a response from James. Then they put out a video with some other dude.
Jose seemed a little
I don't know,
nervous.
at least.
James Lalino, Project Veritas reporter, standing outside the Conrad Hotel in Washington,
Hey,
D.C.
Reed looks like he's going to write a manifesto in 2 minutes.
Isn't it? Doesn't it? I tweeted this morning that all the drama was part of a plan.
How you doing?
Because I was joking.
Good, man.
And it was people took me seriously. I said,
sick
I was
last
like,
week.
Stephen
Still
Crowder
getting over
of Daily
it.
Wire, and me in the quartering, and Veritas and James O'Keefe. You don't think there's a coincidence, do you? Phase 2 begins soon.
Have you
and then
kept up
people
on all
thought I was being serious. I was just pointing out,
Tim,
why is all of this stuff happening right now?
Blue,
and then, of course,
yeah, it's
later in the day, I put out an
okay,
apology.
Yeah, she lied.
To Jeremy
She's a grifter. Okay, what is everybody, whoever had her on, supposed to like?
Any of us have any differences in the level?
I don't know what
Tim's what our real cultural and ideological battles
the quartering. There was an
in the
issue
culture war and with politics.
So I don't know what.
There's no real reason for me to be, personally mad at Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean,
It is what it is. Like, she's a piece of shit. All right, she lied. She lied about an awful thing.
Bring it up.
Sure, if he was trying to put microchips
and it's like,
in you,
yeah, but like again, what is everyone who's ever had her on her platform is supposed to come out now and be like, I denounce Eliza Blue's action. It's like, who gives a fuck? It's like it's a podcast, like your podcast. You know, it's like
in the past couple of weeks.
No,
these other stories
I'm the
about
same
people,
way.
these Republicans getting shot.
Listening to or like hearing her this whole like last several years,
I don't know, man. Look, y'all can tell me I'm wrong about everything. You can insult me. You can say, Tim, you did bad. I will accept all of that. I don't want this to fall apart.
Somewhere
I will gladly accept. You can unsubscribe. You can unfollow. You can not be a member anymore.
With other
I will gladly step back and say the worst possible thing right now with all of this going on.
Okay, so someone shared a picture she didn't like. Is that really what she's talking about?
I'm sorry. I don't want this
I think it's all.
it
is funny to be like, yeah, I was trafficked. Like I was stuck on the 405.
Like, levels of drama, but as far as the right having this civil war, I'm actually extremely glad it's happening. I think Jose might agree with me because it seems to be separating the wheat from the chaff in a lot of ways. Like this whole DeSantis versus Trump stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
just seeing everyone turn on each other, seeing Matt Gaetz actually stand up against. McCarthy being elected speaker, stuff like
Dude,
that.
I'm more lost on that whole beef.
Like forcing the right to evolve.
It is. But the reason
so I have a Substack. I would go to there
I said this on the show the other day. He brought it up.
You don't have to give any money.
He's my favorite member of Congress. And I'm like, well, look, man.
There's a video.
He defended Ilhan Omar, someone he shouldn't,
show.
On a principled ground that made sense, and I respect that. And then he voted to have her removed on a logical ground that made sense. And I'm like, I get what he's doing.
Like the tweet.
So he said he'd give Speaker McCarthy.
That's how I noticed.
They stood up. They did what they had to do.
And then the girl remembered me from a year and a half ago.
When it came to Swalwell and Schiff being removed from their committees,
he
said that makes sense. They lied about intelligence. I agree. He said removing Ilhan Omar because she said things you don't like doesn't seem to make sense. It doesn't sit well with me. However, Ilhan Omar voted to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene and Gosar, so that's the standard she set. So
I went on there and I said that.
That's actually logical. That makes sense. I can respect that tremendously. So when looking at the McCarthy stuff,
she's obviously had it.
I like how when she shit on you, she put lawyer in quotes. Like, well, if anything, he's an actual lawyer.
But I don't see any net gain.
That's the least quote. That's the least air quotey thing you could have said in that sentence.
At all.
He's not a good one.
I don't see.
Right, you could have said anything else. Gay, a bicyclist.
I don't know. I mean, this is my thing there too. I'm like, she has no proof that I'm good or bad.
That's
really horrible.
Yeah, I know it splits things up.
I don't have any complaints against me.
Crises and stuff like that.
So I don't know. I guess that's your standard. I think you're almost better to make the best of it.
And what this was you're able to identify things. From here, you're able to see who your in-group was, who your out-group was, who's willing to act in good faith, who's not. I mean, that's not to say there are perfect actors on either side, but you can tell, throughout all this drama, there's been so many crazy claims, and it allows you to be like, yeah, I probably won't work with that person, probably not going to interact with them, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to cause a problem over it, but it allows you to be able to see the battlefield, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, this is the challenge that I basically see with all of this stuff is, this should not be happening at Veritas at all. If they've got problems with James O'Keefe, they should not have handled this way. This is horrible mismanagement.
I feel like every topic brought up in Tim Pool's podcast could be handled in 5 minutes, but he will he'll repeat himself over and over and over and over and over and over about the same thing. It's like, we got it. Project Veritas should handle it this way. How much longer are we going to beat this fucking horse?
You're a great person on this because you've gone on Rap and a bunch of other different podcasts. So you go on a show and I don't know if you've been nervous going on especially in studio. It's kind of a big deal.
I guess it depends on the show.
And then how do you deal with? I mean, at least is it that Tim just pigeonholes it and works it to death, and then it's kind of like, okay. I mean, you're up to their whim anytime you go on a show of other person's.
Here's the difference between me going on Rap and if I went on Tim Pool's podcast, right? Here'd be the difference. If Lewis, I'd be like, Lewis, that's gay, shut up, and like we would just change, and he'd be like, gay, right, or make fun of me, right? That'd be the difference.
Right.
But with this, I'd be like, Tim, that's gay. He'd be like, well, why do you think it's gay? No, like he's not fun. Like he doesn't seem like a cool dude. Like out of all the people in our,
he wears a beanie.
Oh, you mean you're right? He wears a beanie and makes awesome 04 emo music. It's like he just seems like a fucking drag, dude. Like I never got the appeal of Tim Pool. I only watch Tim Pool when our boys are on. Like truly, like when Dave's on, or like Reed, fucking Hose, any of our boys that we fuck with on the reg, I watch to support them. I couldn't give a fuck what he has to say about anything. I just do not care. I don't find his input valuable. I only think he's only this big because of Rogan. I truly believe that. Truly, truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that. I don't think he offers anything insightful. You guys, I listen to every day in our group chat or just in our own podcast circles, I find more insightful than whatever this fucking toolbag has to say. Like the fact that Reed and Jose are on, they're the most insightful people in this room. You know what I'm saying?
But you would go on if he invited you.
Dude, that's of course. That's because it's exposure.
And
No, but see, here's the thing. I think I would fucking be a dick because like I would never expect to go back on again, right? So like I also look at it at this point like I'm not looking to make like a lifelong contact with Tim Pool as I am with like again Lewis is different. Like I like Lewis. Like it's comedy. It's a totally different thing. I also respect Lewis. I don't really respect him. like, I just don't. I don't care. So it's like that. It's like, of course I would. Also, not gonna shitting on him right now. But of course, it's exposure, right? Especially I'm a comic, so yeah.
I'm also curious of. I mean, I'd probably go on there and not necessarily shit on him because that's not really my thing.
I think that's
and I'm not as off the cuff like comic as you are either. So it would probably fall short.
You know what, Tyler? I shouldn't say.
The audience has to be ready for that, right? You can't.
Sure.
Like there's not a crowd. So if you go in there and you start making biting comments, he's gonna be like,
notice how it's not that I would just come right in off, but like for stuff like that where he just if someone just kept be like, hey man, who gives a fuck? Like I would just break eventually be and be like, who cares? Like let's talk about something funny.
Top Lobster would kind of be his caustic self when he was on there about the Crowder stuff. At some point, just like start shitting and just going down a different route. Although I would probably have a tendency, I'm either in legal mode or I'm in I don't give a shit, I'm just going to make a joke mode. And sometimes those cross over, not always in the best way. So, interesting.
In December of 2020.
What are they saying here?
And so, sure, Biden's energy policy does nothing to help. It definitely makes it worse. But to act like printing trillions and trillions of dollars out of midair when we had a Republican president and locking the economy down, which wasn't his fault. I'm not blaming him. I mean,
it was Democrat governors.
Sure. Well, Republican governors too. It was both.
Yeah.
But to act like that wouldn't have, effects regardless of whether or not he gets elected. Like even if Donald Trump got reelected and was still president, you would have 95% of this inflation. The inflation is increasing the money supply. I mean,
I agree to the extent that spending was bad. But also,
call him retarded.
You take a look at for one, like obviously the energy policy of Joe Biden, but you take a look at a whole bunch of other things. I mean, they're enacting policy based on ideological ends. Joe Biden literally said he was going to end fossil fuels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before the pandemic, the economy was the best numbers of our lives. Obviously not during the pandemic. So if you get a knee-jerk reaction that results in mass spending and panic,
wasn't the 90s like the best?
Democrats for harsh and total lockdown.
Technically,
I think that's a bad economic
Joe
take
Biden
because there was
speaking
no
about the lockdowns
that we've had.
only to blue states and not red states.
High
and then previous to this, you had some red states
flowing
saying
out there
no and opening
big time,
back up.
ready for this.
You get a Joe Biden that comes into office
as soon as you start
and acts a bunch of policies.
Economy
you get
on purpose,
the Inflation Reduction Act, quote unquote,
much less.
And then you watch in real time as inflation continually gets worse, stagnates at extremely high levels.
I mean, you looked at unemployment prior to then.
Yeah, I think if Donald Trump was president, we'd probably have better economic policy.
Those actually looking for jobs was
well, you got a DeSantis.
There was people that just given up and they weren't on those numbers.
I don't think you would have had a DeSantis under Trump.
Right. Okay.
DeSantis, and I've got lots of issues with DeSantis, but when he was opposing the COVID regime in Florida, where Jose is living, I think a lot of that was because there was political will to have a dissenter to the official narrative that Joe Biden was putting out.
But Trump,
with Donald Trump, I think that would have been a lot less likely. I think if you have
he fucking printed the checks though, like he started the inflation.
Actually,
right.
Oppose
like that's
not
true.
Just, like, in a
that's the only way. Isn't the only way inflation is a thing is because when the government prints money back by nothing. Isn't that correct? Is that the only way for inflation to really be caused?
The best thing they could have actually done is just burn money
under Republican
on fire.
The reason why is because of exactly what he's saying. When you have someone like a Biden in office, you actually get a legitimate Republican pushback. Whereas you have somebody like a conservative in office, they're able to push through these huge bills or these things that would typically be not conservative because no one wants to rock the boat.
I'm going to fuck with Jose and tell me he looks chubby.
If I had to compare Joe Biden with Donald Trump, I do prefer Donald Trump's policies to Joe Biden. I'm just talking from a reactionary perspective.
You're coming at it from a libertarian's perspective.
Sure.
So the underlying statement that you're making is Donald Trump is not a libertarian, which I don't think
he's not even a Republican.
Well, I mean, he's a progressive Republican, probably along.
He's
the lines
a '90s
of like
Democrat.
Yeah, that's fair and that's fine. But if you're arguing that Donald Trump is not libertarian enough for you, that's a legitimate argument because Donald Trump wasn't trying to be libertarian.
Well,
it's fair to say that Donald Trump isn't libertarian enough for libertarian people, and I mean, most of your criticisms I agree, because I think I
does he live in
prefer a
Texas?
smaller government, but
Well, no, he lived
holding
up in New
Donald Trump
Hampshire, 'cause
to
that's
the
where,
libertarian
Reed,
standard and saying, well, he's not a
lived with it for a
libertarian,
while,
and when everybody
Right,
that's
but he
Donald
lives in
Trump
Texas now,
supports
right?
going to go,
I don't know.
duh,
Maybe
we
I think he
don't
does.
care.
I don't think that's
you know
what
what I
he's
mean?
saying.
That's
I
not
think
my
he's just
argument.
talking
My
about
argument-
interplay between the different parties. But go
My
ahead,
argument is actually to achieve libertarian policies is easier on a state level under Joe Biden than it would be under Donald Trump, because it's easier to rally opposition to Joe Biden. Like stuff that's happened in Florida, stuff that's happened in New Hampshire. It's very easy because it's easy to rile up your right-wing neighbor and say, do you want Joe Biden to be able to have federal jurisdiction over what happens in New Hampshire? And they'll say, hell no. And they'll,
Let's bring up this story then.
Sure.
We have this from Timcast.com. Second New Jersey Republican elected official shot and killed within a week. Authorities have not identified a motive, but confirmed the victim was the intended target. This is Milford Borough Councilman Russell Heller was murdered by a coworker at a PSENG facility. So we don't know exactly why. Maybe it's not political, perhaps. But we also had Eunice Dwumfer, who was shot to death in a vehicle outside her home. And
Well, with a name like
when
that,
asked,
if
this was political, the DA said that they didn't. They said something along
Those names are
to the
only
effect
in the
of, please
obituary.
don't make, we don't want to answer that right now, or something like that. So I don't know if this is political, but we certainly are seeing
How much time you have?
extremist
We're in
rhetoric.
21 minutes. And I'm
We
already,
just
like,
had
finishing
a bunch of
myself in the head.
leftists storm into a
Yeah,
Capitol
right?
building, insurrection
It's,
or
this,
whatever.
this is my
And,
point.
in the
This
previous
is
segment,
my
we were
fucking
talking
point.
about,
I want to support
Reed, you
my
were
friends.
mentioning that it's easier to draw
I've
so
had some
hard.
great episodes of Timcast that I've watched, like all the way through, that are really riveting. So maybe it is those people, like when Malice was on there. Oftentimes he has some good shows.
Right. It's all guest based.
Yeah,
dude. Honestly, Rogan too.
Yeah.
It's like I've specifically watched certain Rogan episodes, and that is it. Like I'm no Joe Rogan head at all.
With you, yeah.
There is truly one podcast I consistently watch, and it's because I know them.
Thank you.
And, yours. No, Legion of Skanks. It's honestly it.
Yeah.
It's like the only, and I know those guys, and it's just because it's truly funny and it makes me laugh, and like it's the only thing I will make sure I watch every week. Like outside of that,
Although I must say, I'm totally on that. And then Kill Tony was another one. And then sometimes things happen and you just kind of stop. And then I'm like, oh, I've got to catch up. And since I'm not catching up, now I let them go more and more. And I haven't listened to Legion of Skanks for almost a month.
You're missing some
sad.
good bits. You're
Yeah,
some good
some
bits
good
in there.
stuff, I know,
I've also become like, dude, like, isn't there just sometimes like a part of you where you're like, I don't care about any of this anymore? Like, doesn't that come out of you? And you're just like, I don't want to like. By the way, this has nothing to do with anybody in particular. What I'm about to say, it's just like how you feel. Like I'm like sometimes I'll scroll through my YouTube. I'm like, I don't want to look at Dave. I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to look at the Tower guys. I don't want to look. I just want to laugh at something like a dick joke. Like I don't want any of this, and I just get tired of it. And it's not because of anybody anything doing. It's just me, right? Like I just like beat down from it.
Absolutely. That is so true. And sometimes it'll happen to me like, oh, I'm old, so I've been through this a lot, the elections, and you get all worked up. The election's over, and I'm like, I can't listen to politics to save my life. I'm going to listen to music.
Yep.
I'm going to hear old comedy, what have you. So, yeah.
Dude, I'll go on, like, I'll just zone out sometimes, like, and I'll just start like, playing Madden at night by myself and just listening to, like, fucking, like, conspiracy podcast. This is for like 3 hours. Or like down a rabbit hole of like.
I have been on a conspiracy podcast. Well, it started with JFK is what it was. Okay, I started watching some stuff here, and then I've been listening to podcasts about it, and it's wrapped my time. I'm out of control with it, and that's just all I really listen to lately. But it's fascinating because I'm this 51 years old, and I never really got into the conspiracies. As a matter of fact. And then 2000. Okay, I don't know if you ever listened to talk radio back in the day, but it was this guy.
Well, yeah, I grew up on Opie and Anthony and stuff.
Okay, well, that's a little different. I was listening to conservative. I heard that too, but this was like the Rush Limbaugh.
I was probably too young.
Yeah. So one of them was Michael Medved. Okay, and he's famous for having done movie reviews, and then he was a conservative as well. So anyway, I listened to his stuff, and he'd have a conspiracy Friday type of thing, and it was people would come on there, and he talked about the JFK assassination, And Gerald Posner would come on there and talk about, because he wrote this book debunking all the conspiracies. And at the time, I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. CIA, good, all those kind of things.
Right.
I wasn't
know.
Good
Yeah, of course. We all were.
Yeah. And now that I go back through it, anyway, so my point was I wasn't really deep into it, and I've been super deep. By the way, it reminds me of something, and I know this is in the background, but you and I are going to talk about this. So the conspiracy theory stuff is so pervasive, and I have problems with it. This is what I actually like about our Adam Fitzgerald, who takes his stuff on conspiracies very specific. He hates Alex Jones as an example because he says Alex Jones is too shotgun on a conspiracy, right? So when you take too many conspiracy theories in, sometimes you'll start defending complete and utter nonsense. I'm seeing this with Scott Ritter. And it's weird to me. I mean, the McAdams is dying on the hill of course the CIA set him up. Well, but Ritter apologized to his wife for jerking off in a chat room, and I understand the underlying isn't all that bad, but he did what they said he did. He admitted it multiple times. Why are we acting like he's innocent?
It's not even that, dude. It's still like everyone seems to be like, well, he got set up. Fine. But it's not like he got set up for money laundering or murder. He got set up for jerking off to children that he was doing, that he thought he was doing. So it's like, I don't care about the guy's still the worst person in the world. Because you know he's doing that anyway. Like, it's not like he was just. It's not like he got talked into it by the CIA guy on the internet one day. It's like one day he was like, you know what? You talked me into it. I am going to jerk off to a child today. That's never happened. He was always doing that. He was always into that, and then he got caught. That's the fucking rub, dude. Right. And I don't understand the problem with that. I don't understand like why we're defending. I don't even know this guy. I don't remember. I asked in the group chat. I asked Travis, like, Travis, who the fuck is Scott Ritter? I know, like, and then you told me like the background. I was like, oh. Okay, who cares? It's like, it's stupid.
What's also interesting is Jack Lloyd and McAdams are going back and forth on Twitter, and he's like, oh, he got set up, and Jack made a great, I'm not always a fan of him, but he made a great point. He's like, Cohen, Sacha?
Sasha Cohen?
Yes.
Dude, side note, okay. Before we finish the story with him, 'cause I have personal history with him.
Okay. He tried to set you up?
No, he's a fat faggot. He'll never do that. He was part of the anti-Mises takeover in PA for our last convention.
No. We're talking about a different guy. I'm talking about the actor that did.
Oh, Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yes, that one.
Oh, okay. Because there's a Sacha Cohen in the Libertarian Party. That's so weird. That is like a prevalent. That was like a prevalent player. That I thought that's what you were referring to. No. Because okay, never mind. Continue.
Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe. Sacha Baron Cohen. Remember, Jack said this. He goes, remember, he tried to set up Ron Paul with like a sex thing in his movie, and he goes, Dr. Paul didn't fall for it because he doesn't fall for those kind of things. He doesn't have a predilection to be doing those kind of things. He's just like, fuck that. I'm not doing that. And he was out. So you don't get caught with kids,
right?
You don't get caught with kids. I mean, it's
and by the way, it's like there's so little crimes in the world that I truly like care. Like, like if you do, like if you, most of them, like I don't really care. It doesn't involve me. Like whatever. If you like, that's between you or whoever else you did that with, right? Like, and also you could probably forgive people for a lot of stuff. But that's the one you can't. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the one is undefensible. It's so weird.
And I haven't talked to. I saw Top Lobster was going after Spike Cohen on this, and I'm like, I thought we were the wood chipper guys. Why is someone coming out there even softly being against Ritter for being a pedophile? Why are you upset with Spike Cohen about this guy? Especially Top, you're the wood chipper guy. It blows me. I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something. Could perfectly well be. Do you have any insight into that?
I also have this. Here's the other problem that, and this is the beauty with being able to have two thoughts in your head at the same time that most people can't. Right? Is like the problem is the people coming after him are the same fucking usual losers we've been fighting. Right?
Ritter.
People coming after Ritter are usually the same loser brigade that we've been dealing with for the last year and a half. Yeah. So you see those names and you go, fuck you. Like right away, it's like, fuck you. It's that I know.
You know, we're supposed to team up with Marxists for the against the Rage Against the Machine war machine rally, right? Because they're good on this one thing. Why can I not be okay with Spike on this one thing?
I know.
In the same respect that I'm supposed to be on something else when these.
By the way, I actually like Spike. I don't really have a problem with Spike personally. I've met Spike multiple times. We've hung out a bunch of times. He's always been cool. He likes my comedy. I get why people don't like him. Like I get the gripes and stuff, but like he's never done anything bad to me, so I can't shit on. I'm not gonna shit on Spike, but like I get it. I get it, and I think that's what Top was doing. I think he's just like, nah, fuck you anyway. Like it's almost like a spite my maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't want to speak for Top.
So my thing with that, and it goes back to even when New Hampshire was taking this on, the.
And I think what we were hearing the other
Excuse
day
me,
from Byron Donalds,
taking on McCain, right? And everyone was making a brouhaha about it. And my thing to Dave at the time is, don't do the bidding. His comment, don't do the bidding of the regime, which is just kind of like, how about I just step back and let it go? Like if Spike wants to do, I don't want to. I didn't take a position on this. I'm actually trying to work my way through this. I've been arguing kind of softly because I'm to be malleable on it. Do you support the lefty war people? I think ultimately they only just want to put themselves in power, so I think that's the problem with them. But I don't know.
I'm also just like super cynical with like everything, and I go, hey, let's be honest, this isn't gonna matter. It's not like the politicians can be like, oh, they said stop war. Hey guys, let's wrap it up. It's like, come on. It's just one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't fucking matter. You can have 40 rallies a day. Bombs will continue dropping everywhere across the world with the U.S. printing on them, right? It doesn't fucking matter. Like a bunch of
Go ahead.
No, I was saying a possible pedo and Ron Paul and Scott Horton aren't going to bring down like the industrial military complex. Like,
what's interesting to me is some of the in a libertarian meeting this last week I heard, which was Scott Ritter had gone to all these other speakers and said, if I'm polled, I don't want you to speak. And they had all basically, but one or two people said, okay, we'll follow you. So he threatened. And so my problem was,
is that true? Because I also heard that was bullshit too, but I believe it to be true if you say it.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, I don't have confirmation. The people were saying it was pretty good confirmation that that's what had taken place. Let's say that it's true. Or even with all this stuff going on and he doesn't want to be canceled. I get that. But is it that you want to be doing this, or is the issue what's most important? Because right now it's not even about the issue anymore.
Right.
It's really about Scott Ritter being able to speak. And there should be a good analysis about, we had the Vietnam War, a bunch of protests. Did those cause them to withdraw from Vietnam? No. They pulled, matter of fact, when they stopped the draft, that's what quelched all of these rallies. So that's what stopped people protesting the war, was stopping
the people going to fight it.
Forcing them, yeah. So I don't know what the causation, correlation, or how that all works in there. So are we going to, it's good to do these things. I'm not against that. I'm just.
No, I'm not, dude, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's not like they're going to turn it around tomorrow, is my point.
Let's tune into Yake. Oh, we just missed it.
If that's the case, then you essentially everyone's got a little bit of time to prepare, or a little more time.
Yeah, that's better. But you got to be mindful and look at it from a bigger picture so you understand that.
You can still move to New Hampshire. It's not too late.
Yeah. So like you're saying, the U.S. was spread out militarily, kind of like the British Empire with India, for instance. And then India had a revolution, and Britain lost all that revenue coming out of India. So would it be a Chinese economic revolution, where like Chinese companies are in Afghanistan, but one day those people will be like, actually, we live here.
I just mean they're inflating their money at a higher, how do I put this? At a higher rate than we are. So they're going like this, whereas we're going like this. So they're more likely, they're going to boom at some, or bust at some point. The money is not sound with what they're doing. Like you can't just print money forever. Eventually, it goes down. That's why they have whole ghost cities and stuff like that where no one lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just their money, but it's also their architecture and everything. Like if you look at the ghost cities, like he's talking, they have the homeless problem, but they also have these giant cities that nobody lives in.
It's almost like communism is a bad form of economics.
Almost.
I know they're mixed. They're sort of like a mixed thing. I get it.
You know, when world military superpowers start to go bankrupt, they tend to look outside of their borders for resources. Like the Nazis, the Germans, when they were destroyed after World War I, they almost had, you could argue, no choice but to invade foreign countries to repopulate or repurpose.
But like if they lose their pipelines.
But with the petrodollar, we don't have to worry about that the way past empires had to, because people are forced to use our currency to buy things. So we don't got to do anything. We just point guns and then say, use our money or else.
We just got to aid in a genocide in Yemen, so the Saudis will keep, printing dollars, printing oil in dollars.
Peter Zeihan, are you guys familiar with how to pronounce his last name? Zeihan. He's a brilliant guy. He was on Rogan a few weeks ago. On Rogan, that's so funny, riding on his shoulders. But he said that China would be gone in 5 years. I don't know what exactly he meant. Yeah. And that
predictions.
It was almost like I'm not hopeful.
Dude, I saw predictions from the 80s in magazines being like, Miami will be underwater by 2020.
Unironically, the PGA Tour just posted out a picture of Pebble Beach. It was like 1964 and now.
Just for how
and,
big it is.
same time of year, and the water levels were. You could see all the same landmarks.
Yeah, of course.
Right on the water. It's all the same. It's like, hey, we're supposed to. I was just underwater.
In Russia. That long for
you gonna come on tomorrow
the Soviet
with us?
Union because they remember the 90s.
What's tomorrow? Oh yeah.
Really hard in Eastern Europe. And
I think I have time. Yeah.
Soviet states. And
I mean, we have a bunch of people. So, but
No, it should be good. That should be good. Yeah.
Let me know when you want to come on.
Whenever you want me on. I don't care.
Influence in the state before. Just started taking things and saying, well, me and my boys with the guns now own this refinery or whatever. So
we should have been paying more attention. It's still sucking.
It just
I'm listening. I'm just reading text.
Of the breakup of the Soviet Union so clearly.
Let's jump to this next topic. We got some Timcasts. Big news, everybody. I know our libertarian guests are really excited to hear. Meta has reinstated Trump's Facebook and Instagram with heightened penalties. Other public figures whose accounts are reinstated from suspensions related to civil unrest will also face similar penalties. But there it is, everybody. MAGA Man is back. Donald Trump can now post on Facebook and Instagram.
What does higher penalties mean?
And he should also be on Twitter. But,
will he? Or
I don't know, man. I think he's got a contract with Truth Social that says he can't for a certain period of time or something like that.
Because I want to be clear, Trump, his social media presence was by far my favorite thing about him. Like he was
the funniest shit in the world.
His Twitter, I loved how he talked about.
You don't say, Reed. You don't say.
I might have taken some.
You're kidding, right?
It's kind of like Tim was bringing up earlier with if he hadn't had his weights, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's a perfect guy. I'm not saying he's like Ron Paul or something. But if government
Ron Paul's a perfect guy. Huh?
Yeah, well, not perfect, but he's the closest idea of a politician I can think of. But if he wasn't weighed down, if the government didn't government, it'd be super.
Oh, they should have been like, yeah, Tim, he is.
A certain way, and it was if you for example, I think if a Ron Paul got in office, I think it would probably be a similar thing. Either he'd take a ride down in Dallas, or he would end up some way being tied down this way or that to where he wasn't really able to get the things done what he wanted done the same way Trump.
Yeah, I think he meant presidency.
Because there's certain incentives in place when you start rocking the boat, it doesn't work out well usually.
Yeah, you got to have the American population rock the boat for you, and then you just make sure that you don't veto their changes when they rock it to where it needs to be rocked to.
How much?
But if you go up there and try to become the president and make all the changes yourself, you're just an easy target.
I mean, I'm honestly
that's a cool UFO thing he has in front of his
politics in
desk.
general,
I just noticed that.
Especially at a federal level. I think once you get down more local, you get more to where you can actually have results, even down to the individual. I think as an individual, you can make your life better more than you can fix the federal government.
You don't think Trump is perfect?
No.
Have you not seen his body when he's golfing?
Yeah.
It's true.
Very bigly.
He might be the most healthy president ever.
Too healthy, actually.
The healthiest.
Too healthy. Yeah, too good of health.
He had to
slow down,
fatten up for the role.
I do miss him. I'm glad that we're starting to see him more. And I mean, I just loved the comedic value he brought to everything. It was just so good.
Shane Gillis said it the best. He's like,
I'm really
Shane's like, he's like, I do a lot of stand up in New York, obviously. So he's like, a lot of comics are very liberal, and he's like, you're lucky he's not next. He'd bury you. It's fucking true. He's objectively funny. You know, a lot of my liberal comedy friends were like, no, he was funny. It's like, shit, dude. Of course.
No, he was. Yeah. Did you follow him on Twitter?
Yeah.
I did not, and partly of it because it was just I didn't want to see all this stuff in my feed all the time, so I would just get it from everybody. You still see.
I mean, you still saw it, yeah. But it's just I just out of comedic purposes, I was like, I'm totally following Trump.
You got your account back, right?
I don't think he owns
Yeah.
Social 100%.
Okay.
I've been posting with my old one.
Yeah, I was just trying to make some news
for a
here.
week.
And then
Yeah. It was everyone,
got
dude.
his back today.
Everyone got theirs back. Even Cole.
Trump's not going to ban
Yeah.
it. So
The only one who hasn't is Dave Casey from Dave vs. Goliath podcast. He's still.
Your nemesis.
if we're going to work a company with you, you got to agree.
I never
not to
lost
go to other
mine.
platforms.
I've never lost mine. I'm not fucking cool and psychotic like the rest of you.
Right. No, I use different
we
words.
can post on Twitter or something
Although
like,
yesterday I wasn't
I called
on
that fat
Twitter
pig
and I was
out
just
and then
doing
make
work, and then I went into the group chat on my desktop.
Rosie O'Donnell.
And I'm
and
like,
there's like a time
did
frame,
I
so we
just
can
get
post it on Twitter.
banned?
Bro.
Time you can then post it on
Bro.
Twitter.
I was like, all
Same.
those damn bitches that I
He
literally thought
he
it's Andy's fault.
just nothing but
Dude, I didn't even post anything this time because I thought I also got.
And the funny thing is, I got really
Like,
mad
I
about
didn't even
that,
do anything.
but that's literally the policy on every social media platform. If you
Then I
use
ran
the
up on my
platform
computer
just
and
to
see, I went on my phone and it was like that, and I was like, no. Then I checked my other account. I was like, no, they get both. And then I ran out to my computer and I was like, no. And then like it said trending Twitter down. I was like, oh, okay. I think we're good. I think we're okay. I was freaking out.
I went to my other accounts and it was having problems. I go, okay. And then I went to my email. I'm like, maybe there's something there.
Same. We had the same thought process.
And the group chat came up in the phone, but it had been like 2 hours since anybody had done anything. And I'm like, that still doesn't help me.
But that parent
Yeah.
company, Trump Media and Technology Group, merged with a company called Digital World Acquisition Corp in 2021, October. I don't know
Who you
owns
got coming
Digital
up on
World.
your show?
Yeah, DWAC. Yeah, I don't know who owns
I
that
took fucking
exactly,
like
but
3
I'm
weeks off
find
my
out.
show.
I love how like instead
got
of
it.
tweets, they're literally called.
I was sick last week,
every time.
and then I was already taking a week off, so that turned to 2. And then this week, I just didn't prepare because I was sick last week into this week.
Like,
And I had to go to like a fucking. I went to a wake today of like a childhood friend's father that sucked, and I was all sad.
Easy, Mr.
So I
How
felt
much
doing that.
preparation do you do on a show?
Are correct and like literally that.
It depends. If I'm just having you guys on, none. If it's like somebody I want to talk to about something, then it depends on what it is. Like when I did the Woodrow Wilson episode, you know, that was like when I cared because that was a good one. But I want to do more stuff like that, like more like find somebody who's like an expert. And dude, I gotta ask you for a favor soon. I gotta get my dad on your podcast as for some promotion because he's coming out with his podcast soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his podcast is brilliant. It's actually really good. It's called The Sips of History, and he's gonna take like a historical event or person or whatever, and pair it with like a drink of that time, and talk about like the event and like drink that shit on the air and like pair. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I think the first one he's doing is old American Navy sailors and like grog and like how that became a thing and stuff. So he's gonna like make his own grog and drink it and do a whole podcast on it.
You know, I think to really stand out, I think you have to be somewhat niche.
Transition of the liberal world.
Yeah.
You know, on some things, right? Because there's so many podcasts out there.
Exactly.
And then just exactly what you were talking about before, where you get kind of like bored of a podcast in a sense, and you just kind of like put it off. And it's like, how do you get traction? I mean, mine's slow burn. It's you know, I get a drip and drab of followers here.
Yeah,
and there.
same.
Yeah, so then I have to do clout shit like put yoga pants in a thumbnail to make it worth a while.
I know.
You know what? What's interesting? She was crazy last week, right? So
Dude.
I blocked her. I did that video. I don't know if you watched it at all.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Oh, thank you. And then the thing happened with the other crazies and Andy. And I look back and I go, you know what? Yoga pants is bearable.
Oh, I mean, listen, everything has degrees. Everything has degrees, you know.
In comparison, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I started to like almost like unblock her today, and I go, no,
don't be crazy. She's still bad.
She's still horrible. Matter of fact, I tried watching a video of hers today because I was like, I clicked, it was on YouTube and it came up, and I'm like, what? And it was something about Adam Kokesh and then it was just her. She had watched that video of Adam and Clint like way back, and it was a rough watch. I was clicking through like I do the Liberty charts. But.
No, she's so dumb. It's just, she's so dumb. And it's like she's like, I don't get. And this is what inspired my tweet about like if libertarian men would just be better.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about this. It's like, and this is what I was trying to explain to like outside people. I was like, I was like, she is used to dealing with nothing but yes simps online. So when you have people like us being like, yo, you're a fucking no one, you fucking fed. Like, you're a fucking loser. And she's like, I don't understand what's happening right now. These guys are calling me ugly. Like, that's never happened to her before.
Right.
That's what's happening. And so her worldview is just crumbling in front of her. It's like, hey, bitch, I'm married to a way prettier chick than you, first of all. Even if I was single, like, you're still not pretty. Like, you're still
I don't have I think she's not bad looking, by the way. She's got a good body, good for whatever.
Yeah, who cares?
But here's my problem, and this goes back to even when I was in high school. When there can be a pretty girl that is just a normal person, and you have a crush on her or whatever, and it happens. But then I've had girls that are not quite as pretty, but they project that they are just the shit.
Yes.
I give them zero attention and or shit on them.
Yeah, you have to.
That is a problem to me. It's like, no, you can't assume that everyone's just gonna, be all over. And there's, by the way, I've known some really pretty women who don't project that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then I simp like a dog because. So anyway.
No, it's so annoying. It's like these fucking e-thoughts, dude. It's like listen, you know what? To their credit, they cornered a good market.
Right.
They cornered a good market. A bunch of fucking sad, lonely dudes who are niche in their own right? Because let's be honest, libertarian shit, that's also weird already.
Yeah.
And then we're also weird with all of our fucking economics and all of our fucking autism. So it's triple weird. And then these chicks come along who just have tits and like, I could capitalize on these fucking poor souls.
It's like that's perfectly fine. Like I said about her, and I think this goes with everybody. It's just more difficult for us boys, right, to do, which is bring something to the table. Make it. I made that comparison about my son playing baseball. I'm like, make it so you have to be put in the game.
Right.
If she was not just all about her ass, and she was like saying all these things, I'd be like, yeah, let's hear it.
I make the joke all the time. It's like, well, also most of these liberty chicks, and I'm saying most of the liberty chicks have nothing insightful or new to say. They just go like, taxation's theft. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Well, think about if you're trying to like make any kind of waves on Twitter. You've got to literally it either just comes to you or you've got to think something up, because just I've seen tweets out there that get thousands of likes and retweets, and I'm like, this is the most mundane, stupid stuff, but it's who's tweeting it at. Sometimes
hey, go scroll to the profile picture. I'll tell you 2 seconds. I mean, how many funny memes are there of like, Chad guy says one thing and then like E-Thoughts is the same exact thing and it's like 40,000 likes, 50 million retweets, and the dude is just like 2 likes, 1 retweet.
Who is a most, and I'm sure we should listen in here, but who's like a most coveted, like if you get a like or a retweet from someone, I got one from Steppy today from Not a Podcast, and I was like, I felt like I made it, because I was like, that dude's pretty solid. And Lee, I've got one from Lee before, and I was like, yeah, I know he tried to block me before, so I was like, I felt like I made some dents with that kind of stuff.
I only validate. I only feel validate, honestly, my friends, when you guys do it.
Oh, well, we do it because you pop it in the group chat or something.
Yeah, but you don't have to.
True.
But my point is, like, I really don't care if you guys like it. Like, I don't seek validation of fucking some stranger on Twitter. Like, I don't give a fuck.
I'm saying? Like, hey, that was a banger tweet, and you're like, you get validation from a banger. Come on.
Oh, if Dave ever liked it, if Dave, no, it's not even that. It's just that it's just like, I told you it's mainly you when you guys do it. Then I feel like happy. It's just I don't care. People who don't fuck with me or like aren't in my circle who I just don't really. It's whatever to me. It's like, okay, cool or not cool. I just don't care. I rather. I don't know. I'm loyal.
That's sweet.
I like my boys.
My earpods, for the first time, they automatically find the phone, etc. Like, Apple products are made to work together. As soon as you open up the code and you essentially are just turning Apple products into other hardware where the software is
making a racial
open,
comparison.
Can
I have no idea.
Do whatever they want to create software.
Blacks and
then
whites.
you end up with the same issue that you get with PCs now, which is you don't know how reliable the company that produced whatever piece of software you have is, or whatever piece of software you want to use. You don't know how reliable they are. You don't know how the quality control is. You don't know what that piece of software is going to do to other software in your computer. I stick with Apple stuff because I know that Apple controls it, and Apple controls it tightly. And I know that this is probably an unpopular opinion for a lot of people, but I don't
want... you're rolling a 1.
Yeah,
it's because when they control...
I don't want people getting into Apple and saying, well, you have to do this, and making Apple stuff work, taking away the synergy that Apple's products have.
I have Apple stuff because I got it when I was 13, and now all my stuff's connected to Apple. That's why. I don't feel like changing it.
So we want to stick our nose in and say that you have to do this and have to do that.
So iPhone, and then the kids get them, so then everyone's connected that way. And
then ease of use.
And by the way, I got a Mac, and the seamlessness of that.
We don't know what their security systems are doing, if they're tracking you, if they're selling your DNA.
I'm
using my phone as a camera
to
right
pound
now.
sand when they were trying to get that terror. The dude they were accused of terror. Unlock his phone, and Apple's like, yo, we're not doing
when I do it, it automatically remotely connect to your iPhone camera as a default camera, or you can have it as one. So it's super easy to do, and it's a super good camera compared to something else. So
is this dying? Is this dying? What the fuck's up?
I was like, the
integration
is the opposite of what you're describing.
Yes, for Apple with using other IBM stuff, but if you're
no, like you can't even like hard drives, for instance. It's like we want to transfer data between hard drives. You could take a hard drive between any PC, but not between Apple.
Yeah.
But like Apple is one company versus the 8 million other companies.
That's part of why I don't want to mess with Apple, because there's all these other options.
Yeah, but then the hard drive would work
my
between
nerves and give me
computers.
the worst
So
headache in the
instead,
world.
it's like the hard drive and
You have a bulging disc
on it, and we're like, well, it can work in
So
literally
annoying.
any of the
How'd
various
this happen?
PCs from different companies, different
Football?
laptops. But not the Apple.
Say all the time, don't play sports unless you're gonna make money. It's not worth it.
USB-C, I think.
Right.
They were before they kept
I've
building
been
their own plugs and,
They have to.
last
I think
2
Europe
months,
passed a law saying they
really
have
going
to
to the gym
use
like
a standard. So it's
sometimes I've
USB-C.
gone
I was
like
deep
8 days in a
free
row.
software last night, thinking about like, so what?
And
So
then
I started
I'm
to think about the
back on my
arms
bike,
manufacturers. I'm like, okay, liberal
and
economic order is basically.
now I've had to
Lockheed
take
Martin,
almost a week
Boeing,
off because
there's
my
five
IT ban is
Raytheon,
so
Northrop Grumman,
bad
and
that I
General
can't.
Dynamics. But then there's the British one.
It's what happens when you're
BAE
old
system.
and you
So the
break
6 of them
down.
together
So
Yeah, it's like
don't get unfit.
it fucking. I mean, this doesn't matter. This is just pushing out of my neck. It doesn't matter what how in shape or not in shape I am. It's just an injury. But like, I have one on each side. For years of football and MMA.
Hell no.
It just push out after, and I never, when you're in 20s, you're invincible, and then now I feel in my 30s.
Thinking in terms of friend and enemy, but
like it's pushing. I have one on each side, pushing on a cluster of nerves on each side that causes head pain on each side. It's wild.
That's not good. Does this happen all the time?
They seem to want to.
Yeah, I get shots on my neck constantly.
Oh wow.
I have to go. I'm going back to the doctor next week.
But when it comes to social media and information,
So what can they do? Anything besides just get shots?
I think that
They're gonna want to do surgery eventually. I know it, and I really don't want that. It's like the last thing I really want to do is surgery my fucking neck. I'd rather get like stem cells. So I'm gonna see like a bunch of doctors and try to get a bunch of different opinions before anything.
We're gonna dive headfirst into the shallow end with this next story about
see what this one
Eliza Blue, Chrissy Mayer.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
That's been going on over the past week, and we'll be as candid as possible. I'm sure we'll piss some people off. But we have this tweet from Chrissy Mayer. For those that aren't familiar, Chrissy Mayer is a comedian and she hosts a podcast called Simpcast. And she's been on the show, I think a couple times, right? It's been a couple times. We've had her on the show before. And so there's been some controversy related to a guest we had recently, Eliza Blue, and some censorship actions that she's been accused of, notably filing privacy requests against people who talk about her past work. And so here we have the story from Chrissy Mayer. She says, Eliza Blue got 4 of my YouTube videos removed for showing a fair and balanced doc trailer, which featured 3 to 5 seconds of her public, at the time now removed, World Star Hip Hop video. Must be nice to have the power to rewrite history, then gaslight Twitter and YouTube into accepting it. Now, I'll say this outright. I said previously I'm uninterested in this, and I'll kind of, I think this got to the point where literally right before the show I saw this tweet and I'm like, okay, guys, you got me, all right? Like, I'm starting to see and learn more. That's having me question what's going on if YouTube videos are getting pulled. And we're hearing that a bunch of people actually had YouTube videos getting pulled. And so this clearly is an abuse of the system to a degree that we've not seen for a while now. It used to be in the early days of YouTube, there were attempts by political rivals to falsely flag and get people's content removed. And now it seems like we're seeing an uptick in this, particularly pertaining to Eliza Blue. The first thing I'll say is, as it pertains to the issues related to me personally, look, man, I say it a million times. I'm an arrogant shithead, And so don't come at me and yell at and scream in my face and think I'm going to bend the knee and do anything for you. And I will tell everybody right off the bat, we had this person on the show that I don't care too much about. I don't follow her career. I don't know much about her, and I don't handle booking. We've had her on the show 2 times. But all of a sudden, we found ourselves inundated with, and I'm not saying, you guys got to be very careful, because when I said that there was a PR firm running like 50 accounts, everyone started claiming I called literally the millions of people who are watching these videos bots, and I never said that.
Yeah.
But we got some very gruesome, and gruesome's maybe not the right word, but let's just say, people crossed the line with what they were sending to us and the images they were posting of people. The easiest way to get me to be like, I will not give you what you want. But here's what I have to say about this. There are a lot of people who are genuinely concerned about what we're seeing in terms of what Eliza Blue's done and her past work. And there's a big difference between those people and the very few people I am directly criticizing. The people who are posting just really awful photos and videos, sending awful things to us. And I want to make sure that people understand, because there's still this here's what I said earlier. Following the Project Veritas stuff, following, obviously the Crowder Daily Wire stuff, following these Republicans getting shot, I'm reading this. I have a source contact me. They say, we want you to read this letter, check this out. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to publish this. And I'm reading this and I'm like, yo, if all of this bad stuff is happening right now to various organizations and everyone's fighting with each other, that's it. Like, infiltrate, destroy, right? You make divide and conquer. Yeah, I'm not going to be all about that, right? So I said outright to Jeremy Hambley of the Quartering, look, I apologize. I don't want to be fighting with you. We agree on way too much for me to be bickering or complaining about something that is like one issue where, ultimately probably agree mostly on it. But there's like a personal issue that's making me upset or something like that. When I'm looking at, we have another story we'll talk about in a minute.
He's becoming one of those like
to, work in gender affirmation for children.
I'm trying to think of the way to describe this. Probably
I'm like, there's a lot more things that we all agree on that we need to be focused on.
He thinks he's more important than he is.
All of this is obviously,
so like I saw him post a meme the other day of like
and
him taking out, like, that meme, the Grim Reaper meme, going door to door.
That takes us off mission.
It was that, and it was like
we're being played.
The Jack guy,
we're being
which I don't really know too much, but the guy who cuffed
when
his wife.
With my video earlier and said exactly
right, that guy. It was somebody else, and like Eliza Blue, and it was him smiling was the Grim Reaper. And I was like, oh, okay, you're also a douchebag. I'm like, you're not bigger than the story, and he thinks he is, I think, now. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Got like a million subscribers.
When all this starts,
that's irrelevant.
And I'm this guy sitting here like, man, I don't know anything about her.
Am I describing this right? You get what I'm trying to say?
I totally know what you're talking about. But I kind of agree, and I kind of am not sure.
We get people sending us, let me just say, like, videos that... photos and videos that I just think would make a dad, like if a dad found out people were doing about his daughter, he'd end up in jail, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you want to come at me and my friends with these really horrifying.
No, I mean, if you kind of get what I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to put it into like a better wording, but I'm struggling.
There was a story, and then he became the story.
Still right now,
he's like kind of proud
I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Outright say,
by the way, that's when I put out that. I don't ever want that to happen. That's kind of what made me cringe, even about those weird girls.
It's different. You're giving like a time. You're not like, look at me, I'm a hero. Like, that's what he's doing with those memes and stuff like that. He's like, it's like look at, I'm doing all of this. It's like, no, you're just kind of, a story happened, and you're just kind of have a large audience, and you're breaking a story. You're not doing anything. Like,
the only thing I would say in kind of pushback was that he was questioning at the time, kind of, or people were questioning and putting out videos of her.
And I think so many people
was she really trafficking? Just
like
what you and I were saying.
Like you pointed out,
then
with the
she got him suspended from Twitter.
The legal action she threatened.
Right.
So then he's like,
I think
oh, okay, it's on. And I would do that too.
No, totally.
He went after it, and he's better at this game than she is,
right,
in a sense of like details and receipts.
Right.
She's better at contacting authorities.
Right.
Right.
No, you're not wrong about that. I'm just saying, like, that meme, it just sends off like that weird. Because you've seen it before. I've seen it before, and you go, it's just wrong in my head, in my mouth.
I don't know. I'm open to it. It seems that way. It seems to imply. I read Shane's latest article. It seems there's something building there. Maybe some sort of argument. I don't know. I'm still open to. And the people criticizing Timcast for not jumping in already, they literally had a guy there. And like, it was clearly not a fleshed out story. So why would you comment on something before it's a fleshed out story?
But here's what I think too, and I can't speak for Shane, right? I will tell you guys with 100% sincere honesty. I told Shane I didn't think the story was worth it. I don't know anything about it, and I said to him, if you do this, you need to sit down with Jeremy Hambley, and we need to do like 2 different profiles of like what is the big picture here. Here's the problem, and we got baited because the things that were sent to Shane, I guarantee you, like, and again, I can't speak for him. It's not like he said this to me, but I do know that people posted very inappropriate things about his family. You do that, you guarantee that's bait. They were trying to get us to fight. And so I've now had people saying, well, bro, it's an op. Like, they're trying to make you fight each other. What I was saying is it's a PR firm that I think was trying to promote Eliza because it worked in making her famous. Having John Rich come on here and be like, who is this Eliza I'm hearing about now? And I'm like, man, that's so convenient for her. And I'm specifically referring to, obviously not like a YouTube channel where they're talking about it. I'm referring to the people even still right now in the chat who are desperately trying to make us fight. And they're the same accounts that spam the same things over and over and over again, clearly inorganic, desperately trying to make conflict happen.
Sometimes even real people get caught in that state of mind because it's like scratching an itch. It feels so good, but if you keep scratching, you're going to rip the skin off and make it bleed. Like we're in the it feels really good state right now. Don't keep scratching. Brittany Venti got videos taken down of her today. I made a YouTube video for the first time in about a month and a half today about this on my YouTube channel, Ian Crossland. Please check it out after the show. And I'll remind you again. And I posted a link to Brittany's video. In that video, she showed clips from this World Star music video in question. This is all revolving around this one video, I think, that had been previously taken down. But Brittany still had clips from this now removed video on her channel. Then that video was removed over the course of the last 6 hours. Eliza, I'm concerned that shame is a very powerful, dangerous feeling. And if you are pushed into becoming a useful tool for cancel culture, to hyperinflate cancel culture because you're I know it's generic, afraid of your past, but just it's
you can't
don't become the villain that you're looking to squash out. That's the best advice I think I can give you right now. But if these bans are unjust,
and they're
they
doing
need to be
everything they can
rectified.
to
If
fucking
something
fight out of the
Brittany
corner.
said in her video,
That's
she was
what
showing
happened.
screenshots of Twitter's ban
I had this, it just reminds, he's trying to reach her on some sort of level, like she's going to take his advice on any of this. Well, I've been there. So I had this one case where dad comes to me, they have like a 6-year-old daughter, the mom's, she's got her master's degree, she has like this pretty good job, but she's crazy as fuck, okay? And she's
a woman.
Right? She had their daughter out at 3 o'clock in the morning. She's in the apartment complex. The police had to come because she's yelling about something, and they like took her in, and dad had custody. So I'm after the hearing, and I talked to her. Dad has custody, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna work this thing out. I go talk to her, and I'm like, look, maybe we can work some things out. Just go get some counseling. And she looks at me, and she goes, I think so. Like she's like, this is Trump's fault, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what happened? She's like, he got elected, and that's why. And so she went crazy the night after he got elected.
Oh my god!
And she was already crazy as can be anyway.
Exactly.
But
that triggered her over the top.
I stepped back from that day. I walked out, and it stuck with me because I'm like, I thought I could reach her. She was crazy. It was not going to happen. And sucks for me that I thought that so naive that I could reach someone like that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like I was saying, I went to a wake earlier today from a childhood, my friend's father and stuff. We all grew up. Me and this friend were very best friends. Like we were very close, and he was at my wedding, like that type of close.
Yeah.
We grew up 3 houses down from each other. We grew apart because he became like a never Trumper person. Like he became like January 6th's attack on our democracy, like very liberal. And I'm me, right? And he would comment on my posts, and I'd be like, dude, that's crazy. And he would he would say things like, well, yeah, the difference is I'm right. Like he was very narcissistic about his thoughts, and I was like, hey man, I'm like, I know we were best friends, but like you're a fucking cunt now. Like I don't like you just are. And we stopped talking for the last 3 years, which is sad.
Yeah.
But his father died, and of course I went there, and the first thing he did, he ran over and like he hugged me, and he was like, I'm glad you're here. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm not gonna not come because like politics isn't everything.
And it makes you wonder if he would have done the same.
You know what's funny,
but
Tyler? It's funny you say that because I gotta be honest with you. The way he said it to me made me question that myself. Because
like he was like, oh my God, you did something I couldn't have done.
Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth. But the way he came over, I was talking to his mom, and then he made a beeline over for me, and he just hugged me like right away, like no handshake, just a hug, and he said, we were both kind of crying because it's fucking sad, and he was just like, he's like, I'm really glad you came. Like, he's like, I'm glad you're here. I really am glad you came. And I was like, yeah, I would never not come to this. Like, it's crazy, And then we talked for a little bit, and this, and he just kept saying like a lot, like, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you came. I'm like, dude, I would never not come to this. It's crazy that you're even thinking that. And he's like, he's like, we just kind of, he's like, I feel terrible that how we came growing apart, and I was like, yeah, man, me too. So like, I'm happy about it. So he's like, can I reach out to you? And if I'm like, yeah, of course, like,
we'll go to
like
a Trump rally, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, man. We'll go support the January 6th guys. But I guess I don't know. It's just like, it sucks that politics does that to like lifelong, family members, lifelong friends, and stuff like that. It's like a bummer.
I'm seeing people post videos being like,
exactly.
Canceling my membership.
So he died of a vax injury? What happened?
No. He was older. Cancer. Just he was battling cancer for like the last year or so, and just got raw for the last 30 days, and like he just couldn't. Yeah, it's sad, man. The way like on my block in Staten Island we grew up, there was like 7 houses that were like super tight, and we were all like literally on the same block. This isn't like this isn't an exaggeration. Like the actual block of Notice Avenue in Staten Island, like there was like all and we all grew up together. We were all the kids, we all grew up playing fucking sports shit together, and their house was like the party house because his dad Joe was a great guy. He was like he was like part-time DJ and stuff like that, so he would just throw fucking banging all of our parents would go, fucking everybody would drink all night, like fucking it was always a fun time, like no fights, no fucking drama. This is back in the 90s and early 2000s, mid 2000s, it's like good times, dude. And like that all went away because of fucking stupid politics for a while. It's like
responsible for patient intake and
and his family is violently Italian and like Republican, which is funny. He's the only one who's not like that.
Yeah, you never know how that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some friends that I definitely got closer with over this, the pandemic stuff, and with Trump. And then there's a few of them that we can disagree, but it's sensible. I mean, they're lefties they're just they're not those type that are going to keep going. And then there's some other ones who are just like that, where it's best that you do separate because it's not. I mean, I could be fine, but they can't. You're literally, it's like us with pedos.
Right. Yeah. It's what it was. He was the typical like whatever the talking point was, he's just regurgitating the talk. And this just goes to show you though, like the whole he's college educated. He's an adjunct professor at the college of Staten Island. I think he still is at the College of Staten Island. Like he's went to multiple years of school, and that means nothing. He's read every book in the world. It means nothing. It's like. It's sad.
Which is more sad because I blow friends' minds because I'm a libertarian type, so I could shit on Trump and Biden at the same time, in the same conversation. And as soon as you push back against their horrible leftist ideas, you're immediately a right winger. Just goes lockstep, and they can't handle any of that. And by the way, they're just as bad because they won't deviate off of their chosen path either.
No. This old Philly comic a few years ago called in a giant Facebook post called me MAGA Trumper right winger. I'm like, I am so outwardly libertarian. Like you're just blatant lie. Like they just blatantly lie. Like they don't give a fuck. Like they really don't.
I think the problem, the thing is, I see it as it's a sliding scale, right? So the Republicans just aren't as far to the authoritarian side as the left is. So, but they're closer than we are. So we're obviously you're going to get to the Republicans before you get to us, and we're going to get to the Republicans before we get to the left on most issues.
Right.
So that's the way they see us. I mean, they don't see it like that. They just look to their right, and that's what they that's what they see. This is where that's my interpretation.
No, you're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong. It's just because it's But it doesn't matter how many times you're like, I'm a libertarian, I don't like Trump or whatever. They're like, but what about Trump? I go, I don't care. It's like, I can't tell you enough.
This is a groomer thing.
What? I didn't hear this.
Oh, you didn't hear that?
No. I told you I've been sick for the last week, kind of in and out of it, and then I've been busy with the other like my own shit. So I haven't really been super on Twitter too much.
Trump is like pushing. Someone's been writing stuff where DeSantis was grooming as a groomer, and so he's been pushing this himself.
And say, hey, this stuff is bad. They don't.
Of course.
What's Phil say? I don't know how much longer you want to do this. I could.
I got to bounce in like 10 minutes.
Okay, let's do 10 minutes. Time is it? 22. So yeah, we'll do.
Walsh went down to Loudoun County, and he spoke about critical race theory and gender ideology in these schools. It is this kind of work where, look, man, I don't agree with Matt Walsh on a lot of things. All right, he's a bold guy, to put it mildly, but I think, you know, in a future where there's factions of Matt Walsh's, the disagreements we have is sitting at a table and him being like, look, Tim, I just don't agree with you on how we're going to be implementing a policy like that. And then me saying things like, well, look, I don't know, but, you know, I'll see at the ballot box.
No, he has some
Whereas
really
today,
bad stuff.
it's
stuff
people bringing kids in for castration. You know what I mean?
I wonder about you guys, you know, Jose and Reed, like, I think of you guys as the pinnacle of libertarianism.
Thank you.
And I wonder, how do you deal with this kind of stuff?
Disavow.
When you live hands off,
that.
I don't know if you would call libertarian hands off.
I feel this
You
bitch.
live like you live your life, I'll live mine. What do you do when a parent across the road wants to cut their kid's genitals off and turn them into another gender?
Yeah, so I'm all about cultural repulsion, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's the strongest,
bullying,
way to go. Like in New Hampshire, we're really trying to create a culture of obnoxious liberty, as Phil can attest to. Not just the Twitter account, but just in general.
The anarchist, abominable snowmen up in New Hampshire.
The only reason this is taken off is because the cultural sensibility is allowing it to go on and handling these people with kid gloves. If we push back and said, "Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous that you want to, mess with the endocrine system of a young child at a point where their endocrine system's already in flux and mutilate their genitals, and in a point where they're not really in any sort of stage to give any sort of meaningful consent in their life," I don't think it's that crazy. But like, hey, yeah, you're nuts. Like to be essentially a bully, to push back culturally the opposite way. I mean, I'm not saying do violence to these people or anything like that, but there's no reason you need to accept that as a narrative.
Good job.
Okay.
You know, every time, yeah, it's great.
That
I have this genie bit I do, like in my act, right? And I'm not going to do the bit, obviously, that's lame to do on a podcast.
That's it. No one's watching this.
But essentially,
No, seriously.
the bit is like, you know how genies have rules?
Troll people?
Yeah.
Like they have right, and one of the rules is you can't make him fall. Like you can't, he can't make you fall in love with somebody or someone fall in love with you. So the bit is essentially like, someone rubs a lamp and he's like, I want that person to fall in love with me. And the genie does this whole bit about like, that's fucking immoral. How dare you? And then the guy's like, okay, can I fuck that chick? He's like, yeah, go make it right. Like there's no moral code. It's the same thing with this stuff. It's right. It's like there's, if you go like to Jose's point, we're like, well, this kid is like a child, and they'll be like, well, you're right, like we can't fuck that kid. Well, can we cut his dick off? Like, yeah, go ahead, cut his dick off. It's the same thing. It's like there's no morals there. They just choose what their morals they want to be. It's kind of the same thing with the genie joke. It's like, well, he only has his rules, and everything else, who gives a fuck?
How much have you worked on this joke?
For people to get.
Oh, this is an older joke.
Oh, okay. So okay. Did you want to?
It's not. I mean, nothing's perfected, but it's an older joke. It's a little longer. I use it. Yeah, I still use it.
Okay, nice.
I never recorded it, so I still throw it around every now and then.
By the way, so in family law, there's kind of breakdowns of where they think kids can start, where their opinion starts to matter to the court.
Right.
Okay? And at 14 is when, if you want to, as an example, have a kid testify, you've got to have the court's approval. But at 14 to 18, you can actually get it, and it's permissible. Before that, it's almost never happening except under special circumstances. And obviously 18 and above, or when you start, it's a graded matter. If they're 16, they're going to start really listening to it more. So, with all this in mind, a few years ago, I was out. I'm going to say it. I was in Hawaii for this attorney conference thing. And so you're going to class, or not class, but credits and continuing education type of stuff. So there's this. Let me just pause these people. Not pause. Turn it on a bit. So there's this judge from Southern California giving a talk about family law stuff, and she starts out in the morning. She's doing this exact thing, talking about for whatever it was, talking about the ages of consent and not consent, but ages of input to the courts and how we see this. Right? She talks about the whole thing. Afternoon, she comes in. Now she's telling a story about how she took this child away from his parents because it was transitioning into this 8-year-old, and that was a wonderful thing. The parents didn't want that, and she's going through this whole thing, and I'm like, you didn't you just tell us this morning that a 14-year-old couldn't even have say about when they want to live, which parent, but now at 8 years old, you're saying you're taking them away from the parents because they didn't want to. It was the most mind-blowing thing. But this is a do-gooder judge, black lady, just very highly liberal. That was so caught up in her whole thing that it was a wonderful thing. And then the dichotomy can't be seen there. So
yeah, it's wild, dude. It's fucking crazy.
All right, about ready to crap out on this?
Yeah. I also have a second part of that genie joke that's kind of funny too. It's I say, do you ever think like genies are allowed to add rules? Because they hear like some guy he rubs a lamp, genie comes out, and the guy's like he's like, hey, all right, I have 3, you get 3 wishes. Here's the rules. Go. Guy's like, I wish all spiders also have wings, and the genie goes, okay, there's 4 rules. That's fucking crazy. No, I'm not doing that. Like whatever you pick, you could always change the end thing. But the spiders have wings is usually a good one I found that people laugh at. But you could change up that whatever it be.
Where the genie rules come from? Do you know them?
I don't know. I never looked into it. I Aladdin that's where the bit came from.
Did
Aladdin
have rules then?
In Aladdin. Yeah, that's where the bit came from. I was high watching Aladdin one day, just like stoned. I was on, and I was like, "Why do they have rules?" Because the whole thing is like genies is all powerful magic. Yeah. Like I'm this powerful being. I'm like, you have rules. How powerful could? That's where it started from. Me just shitting on the genie, essentially being like, well, can't be that powerful. First of all, you're a slave. Secondly, you have rules. Sorcerers have whatever they can do what the fuck they want. What makes you so? And then it became like. The rules about like very specific rules, and you can rape. Like that's fine. There's no rule for murder. I mean, actually, there's a rule for murder. You can't kill. The rules are you can't kill someone, you can't raise the dead, you can't make someone fall in love with you. Those are the rules.
Could you ask for unlimited wishes? Is that?
That's another one actually. But that's not like an official rule. He'll just tell you like you can't wish for that.
But if someone is what a dick.
I know. It's not one of the official rules. I think because in Aladdin, I think he just says those 3.
It's been a while. That's
maybe he did say 4. Is it 4? I have to change that joke. No, it's such an irrelevant point of the joke. People still get it.
Yeah. Who's fact checking? How are you doing on writing stuff right now? You still coming up with stuff?
I just came up with I've been working on a newer bit from when I was in the hospital a few months ago when I thought I was having like a heart attack. It was just nothing. It was nothing. It was just I smoked too much weed, I think, and my chest was like tightening up. That was it. But I wrote a whole bit about like my stay in the hospital and stuff like that. I've been working on. It's like my newest bit.
I had a friend who was down in LA, going to a concert, and he's like, I'm having a heart attack. And he walks out, and there happens to be a Kaiser like special emergency care unit right there. So he goes right across the street, and he's just like, it's happening. This is not good. This guy's really healthy. Then they gave him something, and he burped, and it was gone. And he's like, I just had really bad indigestion and gas, and he was so embarrassed that he stayed there for like another 30 minutes as they ran tests.
I have to make sure.
Well, no, because he was like, I knew I was fine, but yeah. So, all right, well, we'll get out of here. Hope to see you tomorrow then.
Yeah. Just let me know.
All right, I'm gonna just for the sake of this, I'm gonna do this outro, and we're out. You can hang around or you can go, but if you have to go,
Yeah, I gotta go. But good seeing you as always, sir, and I will see you tomorrow.
Go ahead. I'm gonna watch for a little bit. So go
All
ahead.
right.
I'll just
All right, brother.
All right, bye.
Later.
In a system where it's
All right, finally got rid of that loser.
You're right. We don't need government, but that's not what we have, and that's not what's happening around the world. And I think it's an idealistic answer to be like, well, someone shouldn't cut off a person's hand, but they'll be shunned for it. They'll go set up a practice in the middle of nowhere, and they'll do it.
Yeah, I think shunning works on local levels when you know people, like you have a small business, technically. But when you have like large multinational corporations that are for profit, medicating people for life, we cut your hand off, but then you get to take our drugs, our blood thinners for the rest of your life.
You just touched it right there, local. Right there, local. That's it. I think the key is local. And start focusing local, because the thing is too, like this kind of plays in economics as well. If you have a place that has a bad economic place and you're able to be like segmented off in this other area, over time they're going to end up being a worse area to be, and people are going to more likely want to come to your area that's a better system, that's more, and yeah, I mean, sure, maybe there are people over here like awful things and they somehow are successful doing awful things, but at the end of the day, that's not your concern, because you're in your local area and doing what you do and drawing people that like what you do to continue that.
I agree that is key, but I dealing with multinational corporations that are still going to be there when we go local. I mean, I'm open to abolishing multinational corporations. I don't know who has the authority to do that at this point. I don't think anyone. That like they are or whoever these companies are that are administering the drugs, not only the surgeries but the drugs to people for profit, are making massive amounts of money. If we don't make it illegal, why would they? Shame doesn't stop multinational corporations from making in trillions or billions.
The problem that this is a symptom of a larger problem. So focusing on like what do we do about the the idea that transgender youth, transgender teenagers are getting bottom surgery or whatever. What you really need to do is find out if they're actually transgender or not.
Most of the time they end up being gay.
Pardon me?
Most of the time they end up being gay.
Well, I mean, I can't.
That's what Stats Bureau.
Well, I mean, essentially that's the long and short of it. But the fact that we've got society trying to, or elements of society trying to encourage kids to transition, to encourage young people to transition. There is the monetary aspect of it with the pharmaceutical companies and with hospitals that want to
just
do these surgeries because they're expensive and because you're getting a customer for life.
Adam Fitzgerald just kind of shit on it as well.
But it's also the ideology that's being, that people are being taught in schools, and it comes from the culture with the whole. I think that the focus on LGBT identities or LGBTQ identities as novel and something to be held up in high regard and esteem as better than normal or whatever. That's a problem with it too. You get a kid that's maybe gay or maybe bi, or a girl that's a tomboy, and then people start whispering in their ear, "Oh, you're transgender," and if they change their sex or whatever, if they transition, that's the word I was looking for. If they transition, they get a bunch of attention and stuff. There are all these incentives for people to do this, and the incentives are the things that we need to get rid of, so you can find the people that actually are intersex, that are actually trans.
But that's a cultural issue.
Yes.
And it comes down to, if we as a culture were homogenous in our morality, we wouldn't need any laws at all. Nobody's going to steal from anybody else because we all completely agree.
Until somebody runs out of food.
But see, the issue is in very small, culturally homogenous systems, they work together. Running out of food isn't as big of a deal. Insurance originated as, if my house burns down, help me rebuild it, because if yours burns down, I'll help you rebuild it.
Yeah.
Then we codified it with money, and we all pay into the system.
You codified it with
that ultimately leads to, as the population grows and grows,
to do
a segmented, fractured society where we don't talk to our own neighbors, and thus we have a fractured culture. So now the police are enforcing the laws because we don't completely agree. And some people say, I don't know you, I don't care about you, and I need something, so I'll take it from you. They don't share the values. I mean, you look at Chicago. You got people who use guns to commit crimes all the time despite it being illegal. They don't care. But then you
broadcasting only to Odyssey, which is I don't get a pipe in the.
If everyone was on the same page and said we should all have guns, then there would be no illegal guns, there would be no gun laws, there would be no police enforcing gun laws, and everybody would have guns. If every single person agreed there should be no guns, including the criminals, then nobody would have guns. There'd be no people getting arrested for guns. But right now, people disagree, and some people don't care. So I don't know if we can ever get to that idealistic position of we're culturally homogenous anymore.
I don't know. I don't think so. Not literally, but I'm sponsored by Pfizer. If I see the Grammys was sponsored by Pfizer, like that's very concerning if you're talking about putting information and ideas into kids' brains about who's making the money off these surgeries, off these child gender surgeries. It's like pharmaceutical companies and hospitals and stuff are making money off this for profit. So unless we make it illegal, I mean, are there points in libertarianism or just in general where you guys are like,
we're going to go to super chats.
Think about this tonight. Are there points, even with a libertarian mind, that you would use the government to make things illegal?
Let's go.
They won't admit it publicly.
We are going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com if you want to support our work and our cultural endeavors. The coffee shop is underway. The new studio is underway. We got a new show planned for the morning. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I appreciate all of your continued support. And let's read what you guys got to say. Goldilocks says, hey, Tim, Jeremy put out an apology video. How this drama between you and the quartering can be put behind us and we can move on as brothers in arms against the establishment. I completely agree. And I say thank you to Jeremy. I appreciate it. I apologize sincerely because I started to think about this with the Veritas thing. If Jeremy and I agree on 99.999% of things, and then I'm just personally aggrieved because, whatever, I got triggered, then I'm kind of like, why am I fighting with the guy I agree with? This is bad for me.
For you, Tim.
This is bad for what I want. If I want to eventually get to the point where I can go live in a van down by the river, I'm going to need other people who are going to be people who will be carrying on that fight to make sure things don't fall apart. So I kind of felt like, look, I can be aggressive and arrogant and tell people to go screw off. This apology is more about me accepting the bigger picture and how, in the end, if I think I'm going to get anything I want or achieve anything, I can't do it by myself. And fighting with other people who agree with me is the worst possible thing for me. Quite literally a stupid position to hold. So I accept it. And I have to do what I'll do what I can. Y'all can keep being, y'all want to be mad at me, keep being mad at me by all means. There are still people in the chat who are trying to sow a conflict or whatever. But I'll put it this way. You can think I'm wrong. You can think I'm lying. You can think all those things. But it is 100% factually true that if we agree with each other on core issues, then we have to fight in the same direction. We can hate each other afterwards, after we stop, kids getting mutilated or whatever. All right. Rusty Shackelford says, Tim, please make that Eliza Blue song with John Rich. That was priceless. That was really good. John Rich just ad-libbed that song. It was interesting.
That was good.
Rocket Sauce says, I don't always watch Timcast IRL by the pool while smoking venison at my apartment complex, but when I do, the neighbors do too. Cheers. That sounds really good, man. Nick Stevenson says, Tim, $10 says this is a targeted attack on Project Veritas by infiltrators. Love your work, Nick. I kind of feel the same way. And that's what made me think look, I'm on Twitter and I'm going off. I'm like, screw everybody. I don't care. I don't need to do this. I don't, I get so much flack. And then I started thinking about the possibility that I'm being manipulated or I'm being played, that the people who are trying to get me mad at Jeremy are doing just that because they're trying to get us to attack each other. And then I'm like, I'm not mad at Jeremy. This is stupid. I deeply care about watching AOC go on stage or in Congress and lie about stuff. I deeply care about policy that's causing our economy to get worse. And I deeply care about, am I going to have a future opportunity or is this country going to fall into a garbage dump? So I'm not going to, why am I wasting my time arguing with people who agree with me? That's stupid. I'll say it a million times. We'll just keep reading more super chats.
Special shout out to Scroats McGoats, by the way.
That was fake.
Not a real guy? Scroats.
No. Scroats McGoats said someone was impersonating him and sent us an email.
Oh, wicked.
That's the thing.
Yeah, trust no one. Horrible to say, but
This is another thing that got me going. We got an email from our actual member saying, hey man, I did not say those things. And we checked, membership active, everything's good. And then he was like, I'm going to actually increase my membership because I want you guys to know I support you. And then I was like, dude, someone's screwing with us.
So to all you scroats out there, impersonators or no, hope you have a nice evening.
All you scroats.
Yep. All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, I should have told you earlier that Project Veritas stuff got me thinking. Your current drama is orchestrated by the Crystal King himself. Ian wants you out. I saw him and Roberto Jr. having a contract meeting.
Oh, did you? Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
It's right here. Yeah, check it out. Cast Castle on timcast.com. Hot. You can also subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you want to see clips from older shows as they come out later. But if you want to get the newest episode, you're going to want to go to timcast.com.
going there.
Justin Bell says, Tim, just wanted to say thank you for starting this process of healing the divide. We all mess up, and after last week, that was good. I will disagree and say, I actually think I was being aggressive in the beginning to begin with, and I don't like the stuff that we were getting sent that made me really angry wasn't coming from Jeremy. So for me to then take it on him, that was my fault in the first place. So I don't think I should get credit for healing a divide. I can get, I don't know, you can say good job on chilling the F out, I suppose. Look, I sincerely mean it. I don't want to fight with people who I agree with. That's stupid. All right, let's see. Where we go? Matthew Velasquez says, Tim, if Elon Musk can buy Twitter, then you can hire James O'Keefe. This is your Elon moment, dude. You know, I got to be honest. Like,
money doesn't
when we
matter,
heard that James O'Keefe got ousted, I was like, can we get him on the phone here? We don't have the legal wherewithal to handle a project level operation. When we get people coming to us about stuff, I always just direct them to Veritas. I just say, guys, like, they're the ones who have the legal apparatus to deal with the stuff, not us. However, that being said, if James is looking to start a new organization,
if you build it, they will come.
A nonprofit that can, I'm willing to bet that all the donors will follow James O'Keefe, the ideological leader and founder of the organization.
But you know, I will say, James, and he's even exposed it, it's not about him. It's about the movement itself. And if Project Veritas continues on without James, and then James starts a new organization, and now there's 2 places that whistleblowers can go to, all the better.
on again. That's
Seth Weather says, I hope James ate the sandwich. Like, that's the thing, too. It's like, that's why they're firing the guy. Because they watched him take a sandwich from somebody, even if that was true, I'd be like, if Ian walked up to another employee and grabbed their sandwich, I'd just be like, don't do that, I guess.
Call these
like,
clowns out.
People would be like, yo, Ian took my sandwich. We'd be like, all right, well, tell him not to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of self-correcting.
Could you imagine if we called you in for like a 6-hour meeting where we're like, you took our sandwich, and we're like slamming.
What was on the sandwich?
Go make another sandwich, Ian. Go make it.
Or you ate the sandwich.
Like $300 here, Jesus.
All right.
People are crazy.
Marion Holtzman says, the serious cases that James O'Keefe covers, I would think he needs to run a very tight organization. For those dropping the ball, fire them. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
But I think because it's a nonprofit, there's 3 directors on the board. So James never had full control of that thing. It was always him and at least 2 other people.
Jeremy Hernan says, glad to see you and Jeremy bury the hatchet. Love you both. You should really try again to bring him on. He says he doesn't like flying, so it is what it is. But yeah, man, look, I've had people on this show who I genuinely think are bad people. And it's like, of all the people I should be mad at, I don't know. I just felt in the end, I'm kind of like, it's definitely not him. Yeah. It's like we've had people on the show who are legitimate grifters who pretend like they, or literally don't know what's going on in the world. And without calling anybody out, it's typically like, left-leaning people.
Man, I wanted to get in there and start calling names out.
Yeah,
I'll keep my face
well,
shut.
it's like, look, there are some good left-wing people we've had on the show who are genuinely ignorant, and then there's some sophists who've been on the show and like intentionally mislead. And I'm like, that's the kind of stuff I'm mad about. You know what I mean?
Just keep going.
Yeah, I like the people that come on ignorantly and learn, because that's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, respect to the crowd. Ukraine and Gazprom and the Qatar Turkey pipeline and Nord Stream and all that stuff. Oh, and you guys see that Seymour Hersh, I think, article? The U.S. and Norway destroyed Nord Stream 2.
Oh, yeah. That's bad news. That's
see you tomorrow, guys.
That's
US is denying it.
Is that news?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if you give Russia,
but she's back. Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. And I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast. I can't find it anywhere. And they don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke. Yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me, I'll...
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert.
He's a wigger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than a 49-year-old wigger. I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But anyways,
boomer.